Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to share my own experience with passing Goethe B2 certificate. I took the exam in September 2021 and I had two main goals. So the first one is to receive an official confirmation of my German skills, and the second is that I've applied for the DAAD scholarship in Germany. All the programs that I've applied to are in English. I also decided to demonstrate my German skills, and for that I needed this official document. So here it is. Here is my certificate as the proof. I've been preparing for the exam a little bit longer than for 1 week, so in this video I'm going to tell you how it's possible. I will share with you my own methods and give you some tips. We will look at some difficulties and traps of this exam. So yeah, at the end of this video you're going to be confident and sure of your own abilities. A really important thing before we start talking about each of the sections is that I highly recommend to immerse into the language. It boosts your language abilities a lot faster than any other thing. So try to live with this language, try to experience each part of it, and try to make the language not your main goal but just the method. When you look at the language, a thing that you can use in order to grasp some information in this language, that's where you will learn. So the first section is lesen, and here I would say that the prime thing is just to practice as much as you can. You should do as many exercises until you realize that you can solve all these tasks automatically. First, the process will be a little bit slow. You are going to look at the unknown words and wonder and yeah, it can be a little bit tedious. The more tasks you complete, the more confident you become, and well, that's the key, that it just comes naturally without any effort. Another thing is that you should not be afraid of the unknown words. It's impossible to know each single word, so you should develop the sense of the language, and for that you should just read a lot in German. So your main task is just to grasp the main idea from the context and try to comprehend what it actually says. When we are talking about the exam itself, so you know that there is a limited time for each task. So as long as you prepare at home, try to pay attention to the time you spend on each task and control this aspect. Well, from my experience, I actually had quite enough time so to check the answers and write them down, and even to think over some difficult moments. And here comes the most useful tip that you will ever hear. So from my perspective, when you're not quite sure about the answer you've given, trust your gut feeling and don't correct the first answer that you already gave. I did the same mistake, I guess twice or something, and I really regret this. So at first I gave the right answer and then I've corrected it twice, and yeah, so don't repeat my mistakes. I've told that you should practice a lot. So where do I take tasks for practicing? I've used two books. So the first one is this popular Goethe Prüfungstrainer, and the second one is Mit Erfolg zu Goethe. Last tip and the conclusion regarding reading is that if you have enough time before the exam, try to read a lot. You can choose a book that interests you in German and read it every day. Try to read articles, try to learn new words from these articles, so expand your vocabulary in general. And after that, as long as you've learned these words, try to use them in your own speech. And another thing that I would like to tell is that reading was kind of my way to procrastinate. So 2 days before the exam I was quite lazy to prepare for other sections, and I chose reading as my procrastination method that was kind of successful at the end. So when I didn't have desire to pay attention to writing or speaking, I just printed out all these reading exercises and solved them, and at the end I kind of got the same point I've been receiving during my preparation period. The next section is listening. So here again, the most crucial thing that you can do is immersion. And I'm going to repeat it like at the beginning of each section, but well, believe me, it's really essential. In order to boost your listening abilities, listen to podcasts. That's the first thing that came to my mind, and I find podcasts really helpful. You won't even notice how your listening abilities are going to go up after listening to several podcasts. The second thing is the same with the reading. Just do the exercises from the exam books. Here can be applied the same strategy. It's just practice, and practice. Practice so much as you can, just in order to gain this confidence and in order to solve the tasks nearly automatically. During the exam, try to concentrate. Concentration is the key, because if you lose concentration and if you give up to all these thoughts in your head, you're going to lose. You have to stay concentrated, at least for this time when you're hearing this recording. There are going to be traps. So for instance, people are going to pronounce each of the given options, and you should be really careful. So try to spot these traps so while you're practicing at home, and try not to give up to them. That's really important, just to look inside of this structure and realize when they are trying to catch you on this trap. I've been solving these tasks as if I've been just looking forward to these traps, kinda. So if you get what I mean. The next part is schreiben, and personally I adore writing something, and for me this part wasn't even a big issue. A little bit of general information. The writing part consists of 2 tasks. So the first one is that you should write an essay to a particular topic. My guide here is that you should figure out the structure, then choose the keywords that you're going to use, think where you're going to put them so the sentences would be connected logically. The list of these keywords you can find in the book Goethe Prüfungstrainer. There is a huge list, so you should just choose a couple of them and try to implement them in your own structure. This structure would be kind of your own sample for the further essays, and when you figure out this personal structure, you should just practice a lot. The topics you can also find in the books that I've told about previously. The main idea here is just to practice until you remember this structure. I've also found out that there is a Russian blogger who created a document with all the possible topics, both for writing and speaking, and I'm going to give you the link where you can find this document. When I was already confident, I wasn't really writing lots of essays. I just practice until I remember the structure, and after that I've been just looking through these topics, and I've just tried to create my own ideas and arguments to that or this topic. By the way, this girl posts reviews of people who already passed exam on her Instagram. They just tell what topics they had during the exam. So I found it also kind of useful, so I looked through those topics as well, and actually my topic for the essay was exactly the same one as I found in these people's reviews, and it was about concerts and other possible ways to listen to music. So as I'm a huge music fan, that was kind of a great present for me, this topic. I find it really enjoyable to write about. The second part of the writing is an official letter. Here it's all kind of the same, so you should learn the structure, then choose the keywords that you like the most, and in addition the phrases that could be universal. After that, just try to put it all into practice. I also asked my friend who had passed this exam previously about the example of his writings. I'm just reading 4 letters from this Goethe Prüfungstrainer book, and that was everything that I've done. After that, I was looking through the topics that I found in different sources, mostly from this document, and that was it. My personal additional advice is it's better to have some person who could correct your writings during the preparation and who could point you on the mistakes that you make. So in my case it was the native speakers, so yeah, you are lucky if you also find someone who is competent in these things. And the last part, and the most enjoyable one, is sprechen. It also consists of 2 parts, but I was kind of preparing only for the first one. I'm going to explain why. So the first task is where you receive a topic and you should hold a monologue about it, so give the advantages and disadvantages. And in my case, I took all the possible topics and I had a notebook where I wrote down all the argument and then try to perform to myself, so just to tell the monologue out loud. First thing that I did is the same as with writing, so I looked at the structure and I remembered some of the keywords that I could possibly use in my speech, and yeah, so I kept the structure in my brain, and each time that I was like performing to myself, I kept that in mind and just practiced a lot. Even if you already do not have any difficulty with speaking, try to stick to this method of mine with arguments, because from my own experience there are some really tricky topics and you are given not too much time to think over the arguments, so yeah, better if you have some of them in mind already before that. Why did I only prepare for the first part is that the topics are kind of the same, so if you like think over the arguments for the first part, you already kind of know what you possibly could say in the second part. And the second part is also dialogue, so you cannot like predict, so you should just react on spur of the moment. Some small tips that I could give about speaking is try to be confident even if you have a lot of fear, and even if you're nervous and a little bit self-conscious or even anxious. So personally, I had a bronchitis during this exam, and well, I really wanted to cough, but well, it was not allowed. In this condition, I kind of tried to at least look like a normal and confident person. The second thing is just try to be polite, and especially in the second part when you are having a dialogue with another person, so try to say thank you for her or his point of view. Try to react, try to really build a dialogue. To the first part, you also have to ask the question to the person and to answer the question from both from the person and from the examiner. So in total, you receive 2 questions that you have to answer. When the person ends her or his monologue, say thank you. Your presentation was really well organized, well structured, so it was really interesting to hear about this or that topic, and I have a question. It's just something that I've learned. When we are talking about my own experience, I've been in a German flow for months before that, so I really immersed myself into the German language, and I was both reading, listening a lot in German. I was speaking German 24/7, kind of like every day. So my ultimate and possibly the only advice that I could like ever given it, and that would be like the end of the video, is just to find a native speaker, and if you do so, you can practice all the aspects of the language and be sure of your abilities, and that would be a great boost to your language. But anyway, the exam has its own structure and each of the section has its own rules, so don't neglect that. Don't be too self-conceited and pay at least some attention to the real tasks, because yeah, I also was kind of like confident, but when I found out that that's only like 10 days left, yeah, I realized that it's time to dive into this, and well, I think that this practice and this time you spend on preparation really pays off. And even if you have been learning German for a really long time before that, so do not neglect all these tips and all these methods and small tricks that I've given you. And I promise you that if you do that, you're going to receive great points and you're going to be just happy with yourself. So yeah, that's kind of the end of the video. All the links are going to be in the description. If you like this video and if you find these tips helpful, give a like to it, subscribe to my channel in order not to miss a lot of useful content that's about to follow. Stay healthy, happy, and yeah, good luck with the exam if you are about to take one. So don't be afraid. I really hope that right now you feel a little bit more confident and self-assured. So yeah, good luck with your exam once again, and bye!